if I'm going to get bad news, I want it from him because he's very handsome. Dr. Irwin Redlenner joins us now. MSNBC medical expert. Dr. Irwin Redlenner.
Here he became Dr. Doom.
Dr. Irwin Redlenner is the founding director of the National Center for Disaster Preparedness and senior research scholar.
Dr. Doom.
Oh, goodness. Hi, Dr. Redlenner. Sorry to be talking about such a terrible subject.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, he cannot hear us. Can you hear us, Doc? Uh-oh, he's frozen. Dr. Redlenner. Dr. Redlenner. Okay.
Oh, are you back? We're back.
Hey, Doc. There you are.
There we are. Yay.
Again, sorry it's just such a depressing subject. You know, you've been over helping, of course, kids in Ukraine. And I can't remember now when Uvalde happened. And you were, because obviously you're called on to comment on a lot of things as a pediatrician, as someone that's, worked with children for years and years and years. And it's just, here we are again, right?
Yeah, actually it was May of last year when Uvalde happened, and I was actually in Lviv, Ukraine, and I was about to give a report to MSNBC about what I was seeing in Lviv, and I ended up having to wanting to comment about the shooting in Uvalde. And this is something I've been it's been part of my agenda for many years. In fact, I've testified to the Senate on this subject years ago, and it's a phenomenon that is without any sense of righteous, appropriate behavior by the American governmental leadership from top to bottom. There's been there's been Democrats who have supported significant changes in our gun laws, but they've never been strong enough to overpower the gun lobbies who control the Republican Congress. And it's a disaster for America's children. It's just as terrifying.
As a pediatrician, I know you're not surprised, but it really is a different level of depressing that guns has become the number one killer of American children, overtaking cars, right?
Yeah, it's hard to contemplate it. We're used to dealing with medical issues that we could either treat or we could provide a vaccine and prevent and so on. But the only prevention here, which is really what's needed, because you can't really treat a child who's been shot with an assault rifle and the caliber weapons, bullets that are used in those. I had been early in my career a pediatric intensive care unit director of a big pediatric facility in Miami, Florida. But the point is that the treatment idea is absurd, and what you have to do is prevent it. And you don't prevent it medically, you have to prevent it politically. And we seem not to be able to get our hands around this and actually solve it.
Yeah.
And they talk about common sense gun laws. I think that's BS also, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we need very significant gun laws, not the so-called little tweaking of the gun laws. We cannot allow AR-15s to be manufactured and sold, and there should be a fine associated with people who own them. They have to turn them in. I wish there was a government buyback program for ARs, and I think that should be proposed, but we need a lot more extreme measures here. Yeah. It's too late, little tweaking or modifications of gun laws. Doc, too late right now.
Right. Yeah, Doc, you've obviously just said, as a ER, as a pediatrician, you've treated gunshot wounds, and we've been, this discussion has come up again about Emmett Till's mother and about whether seeing autopsy photos, crime scene photos, whatever, what's going to move the needle. I mean, as you said, we're not used to seeing the level of anger that Jamal Bowman, demonstrated yesterday. But what does shake anything up, move the needle?
Voting.
Yeah.
You cannot be represented in the Senate, in the House, in the state legislatures by people who don't understand the severity of this problem and this plague on America's children. If they don't understand it and won't take significant measures to deal with it, they do not deserve to represent you.
Everybody was talking about this Representative Burchett, his name is from Tennessee, who just literally came out and said, "We're not going to fix this. This is nothing more we can do." And then Republican Mike Rounds, take a listen to this yesterday.
I put myself in a position where I look at those families and I see these things, and I look at my colleagues up here, and there isn't anybody here that, if they could find the right approach, wouldn't try to do something because they feel that pain. And yet, when we start talking about bans or challenging on the Second Amendment, I think the things that have already been done have gone about as far as we're going to with gun control.
It's pretty stark to hear you say that you don't think there's anything else legislatively that Congress can do when it comes to guns. You voted against the gun safety legislation that was passed and signed into law last year.
I mean, that's it. We've done all we're going to do, right?
We're not going to. Yeah, he couldn't hear.
Oh, you can't hear the audio. I'm sorry. He said we've gone as far as we're going to go. We've done all we can do on guns, right?
Yeah, I get the gist of that. And the other thing, this issue with the Second Amendment, I'm sick of it. It's complete misinterpretation of what is written in the Constitution. It's written in English, and it's interpreted in some gibberish to think that we somehow have the equivalent of a militia that the founding fathers were writing about. We don't have that. We just have maniacs who think they need combat weapons in their house. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with the intent or even the words that were actually written in the Second Amendment. I'm so frustrated with this.
The disconnect, I have to hope you're right about voters, that the disconnect between guns becoming the number one killer of children and Republicans literally out loud saying, not going to fix it, done everything we can do. Really? You've done everything you can do, and it's the number one killer of children.
Steph, I don't know, can you hear me? Because yes. I keep losing your audio here, but...
Yeah, he keeps freezing.
Yeah. Keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Chris, I think we're frozen here.
I think we are frozen.
On your side.
Video is frozen, but we can hear you, Doc.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
I don't think he can hear us.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
There he is. He's back. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well,
I spoke too soon. Okay. Let me say before, if we lose him, that I just have to say I am always so proud and honored to know Dr. Redlenner.
Yes.
And he just delivered these school buses to Ukraine, and they thanked him. There was
They sent a video of the member of parliament for the area that he that the buses went to.
Yeah,
thanking him. A beautiful video thanking him.
Yeah, and by the way, it's thanks to the donations from all y'alls, and so thank you. He said UCAP school buses en route to Ukraine, partly replacing buses stolen or destroyed by marauding Russians, leaving thousands of kids unable to attend school. It was 6 refurbished school buses. They moved them from Poland to Ukraine, where, obviously 10,000 kids have been unable to attend school. So thanks to everyone that went to ukrainecap.org. Doc, are you back?
I'm here.
Okay, Yay! There you go. So once again, congrats on all you're doing for kids in Ukraine. Yep. And, it just must break your heart that our kids in America, that the Republicans just literally passed something called the Parents' Bill of Rights that does not include the right to have your child come home from school alive, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The final thing I want to say about this is if the voters don't express themselves on abortion, on gun issues, if they can't express themselves enough to vote out these extreme Republicans and vote in people who care about these issues, then it's really an American public problem. It's not even really a members of Congress problem, because we have the power to vote. If we didn't like having representatives who didn't care about gun control, then we would vote them out of office, wouldn't we? But apparently there's something that keeps us from actually acting in the only way we have available to us, which is voting, that keeps us from acting in enough numbers to stop some of this nonsense.
Yep.
I know I'm talking to the converted, to you and your listeners, but figure out ways to try to get your neighbors and friends. I got plenty of them myself, including relatives, who need a good talking to from Jamal Bowman.
Yeah.
I wish I could just bring him with me, but
yeah. I mean, and honestly, you've been fighting the good fight on just COVID, and it's still killing 2,000 people a week. As a pediatrician, I thought of you when this new study came out about the number of miscarriages, women that had COVID that were unvaccinated. And you remember the anti-vaxxers going, "Oh, pregnant women shouldn't get vaccinated." And now of course we're learning the horrible truth about what COVID in women's bodies have caused the miscarriages. I mean, it feels like an endless fight some days, doesn't it?
Stephanie, do you think truth is the deciding factor for a lot of people who have these extreme views? We'd have solved COVID. We'd have solved gun issues. We'd have fixed the abortion situation a long time ago if it was just a matter of information and facts. But it's beyond that. It's into some surreal zone of misinformation taking a giant hold on the American public, or a big segment of us. Yeah. And that's really what we have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Doc, thank you for doing literally the Lord's work over there and over here. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Steph.
All right, there it goes. 18 minutes after the hour. This portion of the show brought to you by Your Word.